Hey everyone, and welcome back to Joey's Retro Newscast, where I'll be going over the top news of the last week in retro handhelds, retro gaming, and just gaming in general. This week was massive for news. There is an absolute ton for us to talk about today, so let's just jump right in. It's going to be a long one. I reported on the whole Winlator drama last week, and I wanted to circle around as users have tested the latest fix, the hot fix, and the last release of Winlator. And the results are a bit difficult to understand for a lot of things, but the user or the OP found nothing is wrong. But then some of the comments were pointing out that maybe the testing methodology wasn't correct. So I don't know. I would be a little bit wary at this point of Winlator if you are planning to use it at all, and maybe you should kind of dig into it a little bit deeper on your end if you are. But I haven't seen conclusive evidence that it is safe, or I guess I haven't seen conclusive evidence that it isn't completely unsafe either. So back and forth on this one. But regardless, no more Winlator updates since the dev has paused it, and so I'm sure other projects will pop up soon. Zelda 64 Recomp, which is a recompilation project for Majora's Mask for the Nintendo 64, released version 1.2. They added modding support, texture pack support, macOS support, other optimizations, and so on. Get that sexy decompiled Majora's Mask on PC now if you want it. A few months ago, I reported on the new Flycast updates, the standalone one, and although that was in nightly, it is now in stable. So Flycast 2.5 is out, and it comes with DCNet, which lets you play games across the internet against others, which is super cool. A lot of improvements and fixes, and some big changes, and so much more. It is a nice big update, and I plan on digging into this one a little bit more. I'm going to do a dedicated video on this, I think. Eden, the new Switch emulator, posted a long post about the current situation with all of the drama that was surrounding it and Citron, but the relevant parts for those that don't care too much about Switch emulation drama, like myself, is that the pre-alpha release is coming really soon. Actually, it's coming on Saturday. So get ready, tomorrow you'll have a new Switch emulator to use. Rabid Switch emulation fans can look forward to this, and hopefully it is a good one, and hopefully it is drama-free, although the fact that we've already started off on a drama note maybe isn't the right approach. KNULLI Gladiator is now out and adding support for the RG34XX, XFAT, and a bunch of other changes. It seems like you have to reflash the firmware for this, so it's a clean install, not an update. Pretty cool work. I'm glad for KNULLI to continue on with their releases and their team. This is awesome to have another alternative if, for whatever reason, you don't like MUOS. Azahar update version 2121 is now out, and yours truly did a video this week on it. Did you watch that? Because you probably should if you want to do 3DS emulation on Android. With this update, there is a new turbo feature, which is fast forward, and that is super cool. There's also a bunch of other changes and fixes. Still no updates on the retro achievements side of things, but I have hope. Last of the software news today, and we have a new Sega Saturn emulator in development, and it is called Ymir. Version 0.1.2 is out and latest, and it is still in very much early development. I have no idea how well it does in comparison to other Sega Saturn emulators, but it is cool to see somebody working on something other than a Switch emulator. So yeah, Sega Saturn, do it. Looks to have a similar look to Flycast, at least from the UI, and it is on Windows and Linux only currently. Question of the week, and this one is about to call out a whole bunch of people, but don't worry, I'm not attacking you. It's a fun question. How many games have you finished so far this year? I don't mean how many handhelds have you set up this year. I don't mean how many emulators have you set up this year. How many actual games have you finished this year from January up until May? It's 5 months for you to play some games. So don't come at me and tell me you've only played one Pokemon game. Use your handhelds, people. I'm not judging, although I kind of am, but I wanted to just know how many of you are actually playing games and how many games have you played by now? If you've counted, or maybe it's an easy way if you have retro achievements like I do to just check there and it'll tell you your completion progress and you can check it there. But are you also playing games on one single handheld, or are you using multiple handhelds? I'm very curious, for those of you that maybe have a lower count of played games this year, or finished games, beaten games, is it because you have multiple handhelds and you can't stay focused on one handheld, or is there a combination or correlation between having less handhelds and more games beaten compared to more handhelds and less games beaten? Do you know what I mean? I'm trying to see. I'm doing some non-scientific tests through question of the week. So let me know in the comments where you're at. And of course, you're obviously going to ask, where am I at? I have beaten 13 retro games so far this year, according to Retro Achievements, which could be better, could be worse. I've been playing a ton of modern games this year, so that is likely the reason for that. Like, I finished a lot of the Phoenix Wright games, Clair, Obscur, Expedition 33, finished Astrobot. I actually just finished yesterday 100 Line Defense Academy. So yeah, I'm mixing it up with modern and retro, but 13 so far this year on retro games. Let me know in the comments where you are at if you happen to know the number. It's a fun question. The Anbernic RG34XXSP is announced, and I am really sorry to anybody that hates when I dislike something, as I know it's not allowed for a reviewer to not like something, but I'm sorry again. Canadian in me, this is me apologizing, but this is the ugliest handheld that I have ever seen. Well, it would have been the ugliest handheld that I have ever seen until I saw the Ally 2, and we'll talk about that in a few short minutes. But the RG34XXSP is going to be using the same 3x2 aspect ratio screen from the RG34XX, which was Anbernic's GBA knockoff. Same H700 processor. And so you would have thought that they would have just done the RG35XXSP, but smaller with the new screen and so on, because that's kind of what everybody wanted, was just a GBA SP with that aspect ratio. And they like the biggest slam dunk in the world is all you had to do was that. But instead, Anbernic decided that they wanted to add the biggest forehead that I have ever seen. And it looks like there's an incline as well. It's not just a flat forehead. It's got like a slope to it. So you kind of have that. And then you have convex sticks as well for whatever reason. And I often joke about handhelds having a McDonald's toy style quality to them. Usually I mean that about the plastic, but like this one has a McDonald's toy style before you even get it in your hands. It's like, I fully expect this is what I would see in a McDonald's commercial about like, this is in the Happy Meal. That comes with the Happy Meal. Man, I would love to have a Happy Meal. But this is exactly what this looks like, especially the yellow one. I don't know. The whole thing looks terrible to me. I'll be honest, I'm a bit bewildered by this one because this is one of the easiest layups that they could have had in their life. All you needed to do was a 35XX SP with this new screen and USB-C charging, which costs like 50 cents, and we would have been done. That was it. You would have sold so many. But instead, even this community, which gives passes to pretty much everything, has been pretty negative overall about this reveal, which tells you something, because usually it's just like, I love everything Anbernic. But even the community is like, no, this is kind of ugly. This is not what we're looking for. And I get it. There are some people that want the Miyu flip style of sticks and all of that, but like, none of that makes sense here. It really doesn't for a Game Boy Advance aspect ratio. They just needed to make it the same way as the 35XX SP, and we were done. Now, the funniest thing about this one is if you look at the top and bottom bezels and how big they are, kind of reminds you of something, doesn't it? The Retroid Pocket Mini a little bit. It's so stupid, and obviously they're not hiding anything, but it's like, it makes you think, is there a bigger screen under there that you're hiding with those big bezels? Obviously they aren't, but it's just funny to see it all over again with these, I don't know, this big forehead and chin or whatever you want to call it, that just does not fit for the style of what they have here. Now, I'm pretty sure they wanted to compete with the Miyu Flip here, but like, the Miyu Flip isn't even doing well. You don't need to put them any further in the grave. They're already 6 feet under. To compete with them, or try to compete with them, all you had to do was make a different clamshell. Like, you didn't have to copy them on this one, because they were already dead in the water. So it didn't really matter what you did here. All you had to come up with was the normal 34XXSP that we all wanted. And it still would have killed the Miyu Flip, because that already didn't do better than the 35XXSP. So it didn't really matter what you did. But instead, they kind of fudged the layup here. And Anbernic seems to be doing that a lot lately. The 557, this, who knows what's next, but like, if they would have just put like a single thought into this, they would have come out with a little bit better. So anyways, at the risk of repeating myself, obviously not really excited about this one. I will definitely not be picking this one up for review. I don't really see a reason to. So you already know what the processor does. You already know what the screen does. It's ugly. I don't want one. So we'll move on to the next story. Retroid has released an over-the-air update for the Flip 2. There is a few fixes here to the fan, and I guess for people that want to use the back button as a hotkey button, you can do that now. Now, I will say, I did install this update, and I tested it, and my fan does blow out slightly less air, but the coil whine is still very, very apparent. That did not change at all. It is still very much a bad coil whine, to the point where like I'm still not using it. Obviously, it is still on my shelf. I have other problems with the Flip 2 besides the fan, although that is a big one. So hoping that they fix that further, hoping that they fix the speakers, which have an issue, and I'm hoping they do a little bit more, which I'm sure they will. I don't know how long it'll take, but for those of you that are using the Flip 2, I hope you do get your updates at some point. The Anbernic RG3557 has actually gotten an update, proving that Anbernic actually can use their over-the-air updater when they want to. They used Super Mario Sunburn as a test game for some reason in the video. I have absolutely no idea why, or why they're using Dolphin MMJR2, which again, not sure why, but I'm guessing they are showing off that the performance has been fixed here and using a ROM hack to do so, which I have no idea the reason why. But either way, that is what's going on here. It seems like they fixed the performance that was going on with the RG557, and so that's good for anybody that bought one. I hope that it works now properly and is doing the right thing performance-wise. The ROG Ally 2 and Xbox version has leaked, and this is all thanks to video cards. Now, it is only after reading the actual article that you find out that this was all for Wi-Fi FCC certifications, and so the designs that you are seeing are likely just prototypes used for that certification, and so nothing you see here is final, and I wouldn't be shocked if this is at all not what's coming out. Does that mean that these likely won't be the final products? No, not at all. These definitely could be. It just means that none of this is done. This was only done for Wi-Fi FCC certification. So it's definitely possible that they just took one of their prototypes that they've made as like a test thing and sent it off and said, hey, we need our certification. This is what it all kind of looks like. And then there you go. But I really don't think this will be the final design. I could be wrong. It could be the design. And in that case, it is the ugliest thing that I have ever seen, second to the 34XXSP Flip thing. But either way, it is not a great looking handheld by any stretch of the imagination, coming from somebody who has the Ally X as his favorite x86 device. All you need to do is make a better version of the X, or of the X, and not make it so weird. This looks way too weird. Not much else to talk about here. The specs don't mean much at all either. Like, it's still using the same 7-inch 1080p 120Hz screen. It says 64 gigabytes of RAM. All of these just point to it being a prototype and not being a real finished version. So I wouldn't worry too much about all of this until we see something from ASUS directly. At that point, we can freak out. But for now, they're probably seeing the reaction to this and probably being like, well, that's not even final, or who knows. Well, that's my hope. That's my guess, is this is not something that's going to be coming out. The Ally 2 and Ally Xbox version will be coming out, but I don't think it'll look like this. Hey, guess what? Retroid is actually doing the right thing here, and they were releasing, or will be releasing, the Retroid Pocket Mini version 2 with the new screen. They have put up the product page on their site, black color only. No idea when it starts selling, but I'll let you know when I find out. Smart decision here. This absolutely makes sense. This is the easiest thing they could have done. Just sell it. People will buy it. Seems simple. The Nintendo Switch has sold 152.12 million units worldwide, 8 million away from outselling the PS2. From January 1st to March 31st, they still shipped 1.26 million Switches. I am pretty sure they can surpass the PS2 at this point in maybe another 2 years. I'm sure they're probably going to still sell the Switch one for a little bit longer. So these are crazy numbers. The Switch is an absolute behemoth. There is no stopping the Switch train. It's just going to keep going. Quick reminder that our game of the month is Ratchet & Clank for PS2, the very first one, and our ROM hack of the month is Super Mario World Return to Dinosaur Land. I actually just finished this ROM hack on the weekend, and it was half parts fun, half parts annoying. A lot of the level design could be a lot better. There's a lot of backtracking, things like that, and just secrets that don't make sense. But overall, it's just more Super Mario World and wasn't too difficult, so it was fine. But Suikoden is still our game of the month, or game of the season, sorry. So you still have some time to play some Suikoden with us, but overall, you can come play all of these games. Why aren't you playing some games? Come join the Discord, play some games. EB Games is back in Canada. That is right. GameStop Canada was sold, and the new owner is going to rename all GameStop Canadas back to EB Games. Now, this story won't be as funny to non-Canadians because you probably don't understand, but for us, EB Games was what it was called before they got bought by GameStop. Then it turned into GameStop. Then GameStop now is going to become back to EB Games. So this is just a funny cycle, and I'm wondering if they saved any of their old marketing materials in some of those stores. They could just put it back out again because it's just, they went from EB Games to GameStop to EB Games. It is the weirdest thing ever, but it is so great as a Canadian because most of us never stopped calling it EB Games. I never said I was going to GameStop. I always said I'm going to EB Games. So pretty cool. Awful news of the week, and Giant Bomb looks like it is officially actually dead now. Not the actual brand, it is still going to live on, but the people that made the brand, which was the whole point of Giant Bomb. Fandom, the owners of Giant Bomb, is doing a complete reset of the brand, and so they fired most of the personalities, and then some personalities actually left. And there's this whole big thing. I don't know who's actually left at Giant Bomb at this point. It doesn't really matter. Nobody's going to watch Giant Bomb at this point going forward. All of the good people are gone. Now, for those unfamiliar with Giant Bomb, it was a website. It was a wiki. They were doing podcasts way back when nobody was doing podcasts. They were kind of at the forefront of a lot of video game journalism talk, of making it personality-based and all that sort of thing. And so people like Jeff Gersman, Brad Shoemaker, Alex Navarro, Vinny, there so many different people came out of Giant Bomb, Dan Reichert, all of them. And I have been listening to them for, I don't even know, a decade, 10 years plus now at this point. So this one hits for me, although Giant Bomb hasn't really been Giant Bomb for a few years. I kind of jumped off after Jeff Gersman left and have been listening to his podcast and Nextlander and all that sort of thing. But this is, it sucks. They have been hit so hard over the years that at this point it is kind of finally done. I hope the guys land on their feet. I hope they do things together still, all that sort of thing. I would love to still listen to a lot of them. And so I'm waiting to see what happens next. In other news, Polygon was actually sold, and they look like they laid off a whole bunch of people as well. So it is two, I don't want to say behemoths, but two very respected video game journalism type outlets that were hit this week, and it sucks. Microsoft is raising prices globally, not just in the US, on their consoles, controllers, and so on. I guess in their eyes, their way to come back is to raise prices. But anyways, the Series S is now going to be $380, which is just absurd, and it just goes on from there. Honestly, nobody was buying these already. Like, Xboxes were not selling at all. Nobody was purchasing them. They're definitely not going to purchase them with the prices going higher. You could walk into any GameStop or EB Games in North America. They have a warehouse of Xboxes in the back of people that have traded them in. So, I mean, if you want an Xbox, you can go get them. Like, they're dying to get rid of them. They'll give them to you for cheap. So, I mean, this is meaningless for the most part. Nobody is going into any retailer anymore and being like, I want an Xbox. It's just not happening. So whatever prices they set these at, it's kind of meaningless. But it also doesn't really make sense either. I don't know how Phil Spencer still has a job in 2025 after all of this. A lot of people pointed to him in the early parts of Xbox's life cycle as doing very well, and he kind of did, inheriting it after the whole Xbox One scenario. But nothing over the entire last 4 or 5 years has been good for Xbox. Everything Phil Spencer has done, it's been pretty bad. So, I C-suite people and keeping their jobs, absolute insanity. I don't get it. But either way, this is what they're doing. Grand Theft Auto 6 has been delayed until May 26th of 2026, and they released a few new trailers as well. That's right, even GTA 6 was like, we don't want to go up against Clair Obscur Expedition 33 for 2025 Game of the Year. We'll go next year. Now, as one of the few people that doesn't have any real positive or negative feelings towards GTA as a series, I think the game looks pretty cool, but all of the GTA games look pretty cool. I'll play it. I don't know. I don't have this, people have a whole, they make GTA their brand, it's their personality, that sort of thing. I don't have that. I'll play them. They're fun, but it doesn't, it's not a marquee moment for myself. Although it is for the gaming community as a whole. Everybody's looking forward to this game. It is a big game. It is a marquee moment. It's a big blockbuster. It's the Avengers of gaming. I get it. But yeah, I don't really have that for them. The next Xbox series to make their way to PlayStation is Gears of War with Reloaded, coming August 26th. This is a remaster of Gears of War. It is the first one, and it'll cost $40. Now, I said before that I finished the 100-line Defense Academy yesterday, and when I say I finished one of the endings out of 100 possible endings. So I have a lot more game to go. It is not actually finished, you finished kind of one route. But it is unfortunate to read that the creators can probably or might likely be going under in bankruptcy. And reminder again, the creators here are the creators of Danganronpa, as well as Zero Escape series. They combined together to make a new studio, and this was their game. Now, they did say that they're probably going under here. This is sad on my part. Danganronpa is one of my favorite series of all time. I think at this point, if they can, definitely make a Danganronpa 4, because out of everything that they've ever made, that would definitely be the one that would save them, I think. Story-wise, it would be a little bit difficult to do a Danganronpa 4, but I don't care if they remake it. I don't care if they do a reboot. I don't care if they start from the beginning. It doesn't matter. If you come out with a new Danganronpa, that might save the business if they can come up with the funding to do that sort of thing, but it looks not likely. For now, all I can do is say that I supported 100-line Defense Academy. I supported Rain Code. I've just supported them over the years, and I hope that they don't go away because they have a very unique way of making games, and we need that. So I hope they come up big with this one. On the complete opposite end, future Game of the Year winner, if the Game Awards doesn't fuck it up, Clair Obscur Expedition 33 has passed 2 million copies sold. It is important to note that these are copies sold and they do not include Game Pass, which would add a whole bunch to this number as well, I'm pretty sure. I am so very, very happy for this game's success. You have no idea. I hope this number keeps growing, and I hope the Game Awards don't fuck this up. Last news of the day, and because of copyright infringements, Palworld has to make some changes because of the whole Nintendo situation. And there's a few changes happening, but first they patched out spheres to summon your pals, and now they have to patch out gliding with your pals. And instead, you have to use an actual glider because apparently that infringes on a patent that Nintendo has of gliding with your pals. Now, I'm not sure of what other changes they've had to make or anything like that, but these are the two that they've highlighted. That's it for the news. Let's get into the newscast Q&A, and we actually only have one question this week, so it's a very light week. Reminder again, you can send in your questions to newscast@joeysretrohandhelds.com, or on the Discord, there's a newscast channel. You can send it in through there. This question came in from Leonidas, and he basically asked, do you think that Retroid will release the Mini V2 at some point? This was a question from last week that I unfortunately missed, and so I'm sorry. I could have answered it last week, but you got your answer this week. They are releasing it, so it's good. They did the right thing here. That's it for this week. No other questions, so reminder, send them in. We could do with a lot more questions. Appreciate you all for watching, and that's all from me, Fort Gay, West Virginia.